Before I start, I think it's important for those of you who don't know Easyfairs to quickly remind you that we have two main activities. We organize events, about 140 events around Europe and Algeria that we group in 110 what we call event titles. We manage 8 venues in 3 countries, and we have about 820 talents working in around 20 offices, again, all located in Europe and in Algeria. 90% of our events are B2B, which I think is important in this context. And I was lucky when I started to work on this program with our CEO Anne Laffer to inherit a great foundation, because the company itself was founded on a business model that tends to be more sustainable by essence for multiple reasons. The first reason being that we are at Easyfairs selling all-in packages to our exhibitors. So last year only, more than 70% of the stands on all our events were reusable. They were our stand, and that's not even without counting the reusable stands that our exhibitors bring. So this has been a strong basis and foundation of the company. In some cases, we not only save emissions on purchase and waste, but we also save transport emissions, because in 2 of our regions, Netherlands and Sweden, our stands stay on site at our venues, don't need any transport. And because this is such an asset for us, we are really now incentivizing our teams to increase the share of all-in stand across our events. We are at the moment working at finalizing a stand carbon calculator to really be able to explain when we sell a stand the advantages of reusing stands, whether it's our own or whether it's bringing a reusable stand if you're an exhibitor that wants space only. So there is a big initiative at group level to increase the share of all-in stands in the coming years. The second aspect that makes us a bit more sustainable is that we have events that are short, 2 days, most of them, and also that are very close to the market, in the sense that they either cater to a very specific niche market or often to a regional or national audience, and much less to an international audience. We have a few, of course, international events, but that allows us to have median distance traveled by our visitors that was last year less than 100 kilometers, and less than 3% of our attendees coming by plane. And the fourth aspect I would like to mention here, it's our smart badge technology that was introduced years ago, and that really allows our exhibitors and visitors to exchange digitally their information, and has been reducing paper waste tremendously, also since its introduction. So that's the business model, the basic one. Is it enough? No, obviously. We know we need to go further. We need to reduce this carbon footprint. So we've taken quite a lot of initiatives since 2021, when we kicked off our Act for the Future campaign. And it was clear to us that the first thing we needed was to engage our workforce, our talents, because they are the ones who are implementing the guidelines we provide. They are the ones who have to do the hard work on the ground. So the first thing we did was organizing a full day of training online, our ESG online day, which was really the way we kickstarted the initiative within the company. It was a mandatory day, so more than 500 employees attended that full day. It means that the company almost stopped working during a day, which showed, I think, a lot of our employees the commitment we had to this program, because there was a lot of skepticism at the beginning, I think. Many of them were thinking, okay, another program, and is it really serious for the management? And to show them how serious it was, we had this day, which I think changed their mind. It was a mix of external speakers, workshops, Q&A sessions, to introduce them about the concept of ESG. And that was not enough. We knew that in order to implement change, they needed to be really trained. We have the chance at Easyfairs to have an academy online, which is our training platform, where we have external resources, but also we record our own training modules that are really targeted to sometimes our marketeers, our salespeople, certain niche industries that we want to address more specifically. And we have now created a specific channel, the ESG Academy, since the launch, we've recorded more than 40 modules that can be very practical tips that we give on waste, on carpet, on everything they need to know to reduce the emissions at their events, but also more strategic ones, like when we launched our Code of Business Conduct, there was a governance channel that was open also to detail and explain the Code of Business Conduct, also on DEI. The good thing is that they are engaged. We see that in average, our videos are viewed by more than 600 people, not necessarily entirely, but they are at least watching some of it, which is very high compared to the rest of the videos on the Academy. And also a satisfaction score, an average of 4.7 for the ESG videos. So again, the workforce is engaged and is interested. Another key initiative for us to engage our workforce has been to play a little game with them. It's our ESG scorecard, and it was inspired, I'm not hiding it at all, by Informa Fundamentals, which I thought was a great initiative. We just tweaked it. We created our own 20 criteria, and we made it mandatory for all events. So all events have to fill in their scorecards plus some information we need for the carbon footprint within 2 months of the event taking place. And we added this little element of gamification to it, which I think made it very successful and helped us make a lot of progress, meaning that any team that reaches 14, 16, 18 points, even one team this year reached 20 points, they get a medal that we really make everybody know about it. And a bronze, gold, silver medal, even a platinum one this year. And, you know, the teams are competitive. They don't like to lose. They don't like to be less good than their colleagues. And who is even more competitive are the heads of regions. We have 5 heads of regions. And I can tell you they don't want to be last. So they are really, really pushing their teams to make progress. And we are checking every scorecard. We are checking every single criteria. We're challenging the teams to make sure that they are not just, you know, filling in what they want. And the great thing is that if we see that we are now too high on one of the criteria, it's an adaptable tool. It's a flexible tool. We can change the criteria from one fiscal year to another. And we've done that for sustainable content. I'll come back to this. And the tool has been so successful to help us make progress that we just launched our venue scorecard and our office scorecard for the last fiscal year, also to review the progress made by our venues, see how they compare to each other, and by our offices also. A few other initiatives that I want to mention that were part of the engagement for the employees was first, our ESG action list, one of the first initiatives we took, which was a list of E, S, and G actions that could be quick wins or that could be more strategic. Some of them may never be implemented, but it was an inspiration list for the teams to pick in and choose what they wanted to implement. Right after this, we had issued our net zero roadmap with some concrete targets organized around 5 priority areas, very much based on what Net Zero Carbon Event Initiative has done and their own roadmap. And then we also included ESG in the objective framework for almost all talents. I'm not saying every category, but almost all categories, whether you're a marketeer, whether you're head of a cluster, whether you're even HR. You're going to have objectives that are based on ESG criteria. And if you're not contributing, then it will affect your variable compensation. The 2 last things I want to mention here are the ESG Crusader Award. We have Academy Awards, or how we call them, for about 20 categories, I think, that we give every year. And we added an ESG award for the venue or the event that has been contributing the most for that year. And the last one I want to mention in terms of a talent engagement program is our DEI awareness program, because we believe it's essential that awareness rises, you know, around this issue. So we've created 7 targeted modules on the ESG Academy that have been made mandatory watch. So everybody had to watch them, and that were really adapted to our industry. So it was not just concepts, it was how does those concepts apply to our industry and our company. In addition, we just launched, still in the same initiative, we've launched workshops in every region for the senior leadership team to bring even more awareness around DEI and about what bias can be. And we are trying to educate as much as we can, and we hope that it will trigger down. And we are looking into more initiatives to come next year on this. It's obvious that reducing our own carbon footprint is a priority, but it's not the only one. When we organize more than 100 events a year, it's clear that we have the potential to affect and to influence and to educate many industries, many sectors on how to themselves decarbonize their own company. So we have made now mandatory for all our teams the fact that they have to include sustainable content in all their content programs. And we monitor this through the scorecard. We then check. Last year, the threshold was 10% of the content needed to be dedicated to sustainability. In 2024, we required 20% of the content. And when it was 10% in 23, 68% of our events had complied. Last year, when it's now 20%, 69% of our events are complying. And I think we are going to increase tremendously again next year. When it comes to innovation, the increase has been even more significant, 71% in 23, 74% in 24, having included innovations very visible in their content program. The support to startups and making sure that we have the right startups attending our events, 64% of our events in 23 had proactive action on this, 79% in 24. So again, a big increase. And finally, when it comes to partnering with a nonprofit association, foundation, to do some good around our events, in 23, we had 48% of our events that had partnered with a nonprofit initiative. And this year, 67% of our events. So that's the impact of the scorecard. They see that they are not complying. They are looking for a solution. It's really pushing them to be better year after year after year. I think that I also want to mention the fact that obviously whatever we do internally to decrease our carbon footprint or to educate our talents, we want to also communicate with the other stakeholders. So it's important to try to do it in the most transparent way. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here. We have issued our first sustainability report in 24. We've also added a big sustainability section to our corporate website. And we've created what we call the communication toolkit for events and one for venues, so that we make it easier for them to communicate on their website, because they have to communicate about a lot of things. It's difficult for them to know how to communicate about their ESG initiatives. So we're providing them with standard language they can plug and play with. And it has been successful. I would like it to be even better, but I think that was a first step in making sure that we have at least a sustainable page on every event website and every venue website. I think we're almost done. Just a few key numbers. We've calculated our carbon footprint fully twice now. One for our baseline pre-COVID for fiscal year 18-19, and we've already done it in 22-23. And in between, we had a reduction of our carbon emissions of 33%, knowing that some of it was due to the fact that we had less events, obviously, post-COVID than pre-COVID. But still, when you look at our carbon intensity by employee, we reduced it by 35%, and by event by 14%. So we are making progress, and hopefully we will continue to. We all know how difficult it is, especially when a company is growing, but at least we'll have carbon intensity to watch and see how we are progressing. One more number that we are quite proud of is our employee net promoter score, which was 40 last year, and the number of hours they spend on the Academy Online, which shows their interest in the education we provide. 31 hours in average, with some people doing much better than others, but still. So that's it. I think I made it as quick as possible, and I'm very happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nil. Now we're ready to take questions. First of all, Nil, I wanted to congratulate you and your team, of course, again. For me personally, I was really almost touched by the strong social aspect of the whole program. Now it's only mentioned in a nutshell, but it was really impressive to see what Easyfairs is doing on the social aspects. I wanted to stress that again right here. I have one question that was also raised during the jury days. So transport is a challenge for all of us, for our industry. You focus on the proximity that was in one of your slides. That proximity is, of course, very important, and you can do that because, your business model is based kind of on proximity. But do you also have a vision? I guess you have a vision for the bigger international shows. How they could work on that. Is, in your opinion, decentralization something that could work, or how's your look towards that?
First of all, I mean, thank you, Edwin, for the kind words. I think that on transport, yes, it is our nightmare to all of us, but at the same time, it is there. I mean, we want people to come to our events. And even if the distance they travel to come to Easyfairs event is lower, we still want to reduce that. And we have to, if at some point we want to be net zero. So on visitor transport, we are now asking every team to communicate about all public transport options actively, and to find a way to incentivize people to use those public transport without making them feel guilty about coming to the event. That's the really very difficult balance to find, but we are actively communicating. We're launching pilots also, and some shows. Last year we had a pilot with a company called Good Wings at Paris Packaging Week, which didn't work as much as I wanted, but basically which included the possibility to book their hotel through that platform, and based on the transport they would know how much carbon emissions they were generating. And automatically through the platform, there was an offset, which I don't really like as a solution, but still it was one way of at least compensating accommodation. That's not the way we're going to continue doing it. So really bringing awareness, choosing also, if we can, places where actually there is public transport. We operate in 2 places in the Netherlands, for example, where public transport is quite limited, and where we are finding it hard to find solution to reduce the number of cars that come to the venue. So I cannot tell you anything. I think we're doing everything that everybody else does, which is incentivizing. We're educating also on the differences, and we are implementing in some shows electric shuttles. So we're implementing carpooling solutions also. And definitely trying to really, especially on shows where it's possible, incentivize people to use the incredible train network we have in Europe as much as possible.
Okay.
And just on transport again, Edwin, I think it's important also for the truck transport. That's been our challenge, and I think it's everybody's challenge to measure how many trucks come to our events. Some venues allow it, some others venues don't allow it. So, measuring progress on this is difficult. We are now also starting pilots we have started pilots in the Netherlands, in Sweden and in Germany, to see how we can at least consolidate our own transport, which is already limited because all the stands come at once. But still we want to go further on this. But it's very difficult again to measure progress on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil. In the chat, Christian added that there is a piece of work ready on the UFI and the Net Zero Carbon Events website. It's called Travel Balance. It's on travel consolidation. I think there's a huge amount of best practices in there. And also, if you want to take a look at it, maybe we can share it after this meeting. Also, Christian further on had one really high-level question. So he found it very comprehensive and well monitored. He had one question: what can you do more? Is that a question, or is that saying that
it's not enough? Yeah. I think we are trying to act on many different angles, accompanying closely also our teams. I'm just starting to do, I started last week actually, a tour of every single office to to really hear what are the best practices, because I cannot go to 150 events a year, but I want to know what they're doing. So I'm going to every single office to gather best practices and see if there are things that are new that we didn't think about that we can share with the other events in the group. I'm organizing specific also, I think being close to your coworkers and really trying to remind them every time how important it is also essential. And I've just recorded 3, I think, modules for the Academy about CSRD to let them know, guys, this is not just us, making some good. We have reporting obligations. We're going to be audited on this. And I wanted them to know what it is and be transparent why we're doing this, and also making it very clear that it's not an option. We have to reduce our carbon footprint. I also recorded recently specific training on waste management because I think we can all improve on this. Some of our venues can do better. I think everybody is really leveling up in the group, but we want to show again and share the best practices. We are looking at launching different pilots around the group. We're doing one in Paris in January with a company to help us, manage the waste more efficiently. So yeah, there are little actions you can take here and there. There are some things that are significant. We are not using single-used plastic anymore in our Dutch venues. Obviously, legislation had a role to play in there, but it's done. And we are doing the same in Sweden. We've reduced red meat pretty much across, I would say now, 60% of our events. Many of them are going vegetarian also. So yeah, the little actions are, more and more coming in, and they add up.
Yeah. Well,
and now, to be honest with you, the fact that we have to measure our carbon footprint makes us want to do better. And we're waiting for guidelines also on some key measurement from the Net Zero Carbon Initiative, because I think we cannot do it alone. I think we need some guidelines.
Of course, it will be a group effort. In the meantime, Peru shared the link to the document. Thank you for that. Like that, Neil, you can stop sharing your screen.
I thought I did.
And
sorry.
then Marloes from Jaarbeurs Utrecht will take over from you right now. If everything goes well.
Can everybody see my slides?
Yes, Marloes.
Okay. Great. So congratulations, Neil, on a great presentation and a great showcase to the industry, I think. I'm going to try to summarize our case in 10 minutes, but it's going to be hard. So please have a look at the website, UFI website, and you can find the whole case, because it has short movies in it as well, to highlight and show the case a little bit more into detail. And I think it's useful to have a look at them. But let's get started and show you our initiatives, because of course we are very proud of it, and also very honored to be able to present them here today. So I think that for Jaarbeurs, of course, we have a focus on the business here today. But I think it's good to know that with Jaarbeurs, there are actually 3 pillars we're focusing on when it comes to sustainability within the organization. So we have the carbon neutrality focus that we want to have in 2030. We have the corporate social responsibility, where we mainly focus on our hometown, Utrecht. And we have accelerating sustainability in all markets that we're active in. And for this specific case, that's actually the pillar that we've been focusing on. And in order to do so, we took the biggest market that we're active in the Netherlands, which is the construction and installation industry. It's an industry where we mainly have B2B initiatives. So you can think about Jaarbeurs, VSK, and these attract Jaarbeurs, I think, about 80,000 professionals, and VSK about 40. And this case was mainly written around VSK because within the construction installation strategy industry, there's already a huge focus on sustainability. And of course, it's a topic, a theme that's really alive at the moment, and everybody's thinking about how to integrate it. And that's where we come in, because we truly believe that we can make an impact in all these markets where we're active in, especially on the content of the show. So not just on the carbon part or on the social part, but also on accelerating this sustainability within this market. So what we've done is that we've introduced a sustainability pledge for this year's edition, but actually mainly we've introduced it for next Jaarbeurs 2025 and VSK 2026. And I'm going to show you really shortly in a while what it looks like. Then I think Neil said something about it as well. We've been really focusing on sessions, awards, and on keynote programs within the show. So 107 out of 132 sessions were about sustainability. So that's a huge amount of sustainability sessions and compared to the total. And we've introduced a circular participation package, and I'm going to show you in a bit as well what that looks like. And of course, on the social part, I think that when you look at the industry, there's not really a lot of women entering. And what we've tried to do is that to create a podium for them in order to meet each other, but also to focus more on diversity and inclusion within the industry. So I think that that's been really interesting as well. And 2 years ago, we already showcased a case about our hospitality initiatives. And I can really recommend you looking at that as well, because we've made huge impact on decreasing the amount of meat, of fish, but also on cooking more locally produced products, seasoned products, and gaining an impact there as well. But this case was not so much about that initiative. So coming back to the sustainability pledge, this is actually what it looks like. So we've not just asked only our exhibitors and in a later stage our visitors, but we've also committed ourselves towards this pledge. And we've said that we want to become carbon neutral, like I said before, and we're going to show leadership in this industry through transparency on the ESG goals and boost sustainability transition. And we've been doing it by a load of initiatives, and we're going to highlight them in preparation to the next coming show. So everybody knows what the role is that we are playing when getting to this ambition. And we're supporting and inspiring exhibitors to participate more sustainable. I think that we've showed that in website, in construction packages, but also by giving room for startups and scale-ups within the industry, having innovations on sustainable solutions and giving way for them, and giving them the possibility of participating at the show. Well, usually it might even maybe a bit too expensive. And from the exhibitor point of view, when they sign the pledge, they actually say that they're going to use the circular materials. They're going to travel as a team by train, which is very easy when you come to Utrecht. So we actually want to encourage everybody by coming by public transport, embracing a responsible consumption, and sharing sustainability knowledge with their connections. So I think that this pledge is something, it's unique to our company, and it's hopefully really going to make a difference. At least we're having another talk with the exhibitors, and we have other conversations that we used to have. Then we have these awards, and I think the awards are already there for a million years, but right now we've added a much more sustainability perspective from it. So we have the Fitting Award, was presented to the exhibitor who embodied the event's values best. And they were, as the finalists were assessed on the use of circular materials, sustainable presentations, etc. Then we have the Inclusive Award by Techniek Nederland. It was presented to the companies that are forerunners on diversity and inclusion, which is of course very important in the industry again. And the Cooling Award, it was presented to the company that realized innovations in cooling and air conditioning technology, which is, as you know, one of the most pollutioning systems in the world. So we really are trying to make this industry more sustainable. On diversity and talent development, we had the ladies networking events, student and career developments, and the VSK Academy. I think that that's something important as well. And then I'm going to showcase really shortly on our circular participation packages. We've introduced it last year for the first time. Let me see, yeah, the end of 2023, because we already had a rewind carpet, but we didn't have anything on stand construction and on furniture yet. And we've found new partners actually to help us with it, because from the traditional industry we weren't able to realize it. So we work together with VEPA on chairs, on tables, with really made from circular materials. And in the end, I think that yeah, we can make a true difference. And this is actually being implemented at the moment for all our trade shows. And our goal is to have this the basic stand construction package within 2 years for every show that we're running. But of course, we have to have our lists or the inventory on time in order to build it for all the big shows as well. But this is actually going really well at the moment. And here you can see, because we've also gathered, of course, all the data on what is then actually circular, what is really of added value for this package, and what are the aspects that we are not being able to being circular yet. So we're trying to be transparent on that as possible. So these are all the partners that we've worked with, because of course we cannot do this alone. So even though the content programs and awards we've done with knowledge partners, partners from the industry, and all the partners that you're seeing here, all the partners as well from the supplier side, as well as from the content side. And of course the charities, because I don't have the time to highlight it all, but of course we also have a lot of charities in the Netherlands that we're working for. And we have 2 special ones for all our B2B shows, and these are Prinses Maxima Centrum and the Helen Dowling Industry Institute. So really shortly, but to wrap it up a bit, especially on the pledge and on the circular participation packages, we really want to give it some more speed. So at the moment we are preparing for Jaarbeurs 25, getting as much exhibitors in as possible who sign the pledge, who will build their stands circular, getting the content programs ready, getting the women's and diversity programs ready. And then there's the biggest goal of all within this construction installation industry is to have the first circular trade show by 2027. And that's going to be Jaarbeurs. And we're really trying to make it fully circular. So, and that's going to be quite a challenge, especially on the logistical part, and not so much on the consumers or the exhibitors traveling through Jaarbeurs, but mainly on the transport side. So, but we're thinking about how to realize it. So hopefully we'll work it out. We have 2 more years left for hopefully a lot of innovations as well on that side. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Marloes. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the strong entry. It was a real valid finalist, of course, and it's really clear to all of us that Jaarbeurs is really pushing sustainability into our industry. And when I mean pushing, really pushing, so that's really nice. A question of me, but also from Christian. You're mainly organizing, well, what you presented here on building fairs. We all know that the building industry is a very traditional industry. So I can imagine quite some challenges which we all can see as opportunities, of course. But the question is basically, do you see a change within the exhibitors of the building industry in their look at sustainability? Is that already changing, or are we just kind of dreaming that things are happening?
Well, I think 2 ways, because when you look at the industry itself, sustainability is a huge topic, also because of legislation, regulatory issues. So if I look at the Netherlands, for example, specific, you can see that there is no building that can be constructed without being sustainable at the moment. So from the industry point of view, it's something that really needs to be done. That's helpful, I think. And on the other hand, I think this one, we're getting served by the CSRD, because all these companies and all our exhibitors, they have to report on sustainability as well. So for me, this is something logical to really do. And you can see that a lot of exhibitors want to step in, because at least they can also prove to their own clients and their own suppliers that they're really doing everything on sustainability. Because the events industry in itself is not so sustainable, as you know. So all the initiatives really help for us also to have a better positioning of the thing that we're doing when it comes to sustainability.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that the main trigger comes from legislation, because they have to do it instead of they want to do it. Yeah, that's like the real view of things.
CSRD is one, but I think that legislation has been there for a couple of years already. Especially if you look at VSK and you look at aircos and cooling systems, these are so much these are so pollutioning. So and they know it, and they really want to change. And I think that's up to us to help them to scale up on the solution, to show the innovations on sustainability. Yeah.
Okay.
And I see more willingness on that side, much more
willingness.
Yeah.
Is there more questions from the audience?
Yeah, just to rebound on what Marloes said, I think it's a very compelling case. We actually have also a construction show called Future Build in the UK. And it's been the best industry to try things, because as Marloes said, they are so eager to do it that Future Build for us is the incubator of many initiatives, including removing carpet, and they are all for it. So I think that's it may be a conservative sector, but they're actually so much under pressure on this topic that it's actually a great sector to start.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. If everything is clear on this, I would like to move forward with RX. There's two persons going to present, somebody from France and somebody from UK. That's Helen and I have to say it right, Anne-Manuèle in French.
Great, thank you, Edwin. Really great to hear the other presentations today, because I think that's how we're all going to achieve our goals, is by learning from each other. And when something works well, it's great to be able to share it with others. So thank you for the opportunity for letting us talk through our award entry for RX. Our award entry was about how we have taken our global sustainability strategy and implemented it at show level. And we've got two case studies that we're going to talk through today. But I'm just going to give some context around our sustainability strategy, which is really anchored in the Net Zero Carbon Events Initiative. And so we're very much focused on carbon reduction. Since the Net Zero Carbon Events Initiative was launched in 2021, we've made a lot of progress. We weren't really addressing sustainability, certainly not at a global level at RX prior to this. And we've made sure that we collect data. So we've asked all events to report energy and waste. We really accelerated that in 2023. And actually we're at a point where we have about 70 to 80% of those events have reported data. We conducted event footprints so that we could really try and get underneath the skin of an event and really fully understand where the emissions were coming from. And we rolled out a playbook, which was a guidance document to really try and help event teams understand how they could make impacts on those carbon emission areas. Earlier this year, we launched our roadmap. And again, the roadmap that we've published is very aligned to the Net Zero Carbon Events roadmap. It's, for anyone who hasn't read the Net Zero Carbon Events roadmap, it's excellent and really forms a strong basis for any organizer or any other stakeholder for developing their own kind of roadmap. And we're looking at rolling out at the end of this year into next year some carbon reduction goals that will be measurable at the business level and at the event level. So I'm going to talk about the first case study, and the portfolio director for this event wasn't able to join today. He is currently on site at an event for the construction industry taking place now in Paris. But this event I'm talking about, I'll go through it quite quickly. It was a launch event. It was a new launch last year. And what's really interesting about this event is how we can embed sustainability really well into launch events if we start to think about it right at the beginning of the design and the conception for an event. And so it was really fully embedded into this event. Some of the things that the event team did were look at the materials that were on site. So they used reusable wood for all of the feature builds, the theatres, etc. It was fully packaged, so exhibitors couldn't bring their own stands onto site, and the packaged stands that were made available were again made out of this reusable wood. There was no carpet on stands or in the aisles, and all the signage was recyclable. Even down to the catering, they thought through, how to make that more sustainable. So it was locally sourced. There was no red meat. I believe it was all made on demand as well, because to really reduce food waste, and there was no plastic bottles at all on site. This had a direct impact on waste management, because we know waste is a really big issue for our events. And so just being able to kind of control the materials that were on site had this significant impact on the amount of waste that was produced. We also worked with a waste partner to look at and identify streams where waste could be reused or go back into the circular economy. And we had quite impressive results. There was only 4.6 tons of waste collected at this event. So we were really pleased with that. And we've heard today about the opportunities to share knowledge and share content and at our events. We play a role in being able to influence the sectors that we work in, and this event was no different. So there were a few partnerships at the event delivering content on different topics for this particular sector around energy efficiency and food poverty and sustainable buildings. So I think that that's a really good opportunity, not just for this event, but for all events to be able to disseminate content. And then when we look at the results, because we measure everything, there was really high satisfaction among our exhibitors for this particular event, and we had good NPS scores among our exhibitors and our visitors. And I think one thing to note, because there are costs associated with delivering sustainable events, and it's about managing budget. So looking at maybe where you can perhaps save if some of those sustainable materials are more expensive. We know that sometimes the rewind carpet is more expensive, or to actually have that carpet recycled afterwards, there's implications there. So looking at how to manage the budget to be able to implement a more sustainable event. And I'm going to hand over to Anne-Manuèle, because I know time is short.
Thank you, Helen. Hello, everyone. And again, congrats to the winner and the finalists. It was very inspiring, your two presentations. So I'm here as the director of Polytech, and I'm going to share with you what we have done in the last edition. So just for you to know, Polytech was launched 45 years ago, and today it is one of the leading international events for the environment and climate. So the presentation I'm going to make is the evolution we have brought in the 2023 edition in response to what our clients are and praise, find solutions to reduce our ecological impact. So we built our strategy on 4 pillars. The first one is propose our clients a greener experience. The second one was to deliver a significant and measurable reduction in waste. The third was to engage our community to adopt sustainable practices. And our fourth was not to forget our social engagement. So the first pillar, propose a greener experience, was a mix of two major decisions and a series of smaller ones. The first decision, as you can see maybe on the slide, is eliminate carpets from all the common areas and the aisles. As we all know, carpeting is a symbol of waste in the event management industry. And our decision saved 35,000 square meters of carpeting, weighing approximately 8 tons. The second big decision was to build all our communal areas and registrations with reusable wooden structures that brought a very unique atmosphere to the show and a strong identity. We also took smaller decisions, such as water fountains to limit plastic bottled water, hybrid badges to limit print, cigarette butts collection for energy recovery, and a carpooling platform to limit single use of cars. Next slides, please. Thank you. Our second pillar, deliver significant and measurable waste reductions. Polytech 23 was 25% bigger in terms of gross space than 21, yet we were really determined to deliver a significant reduction in waste. The key for success was a solid cooperation between the show team and operation team. And together we decided to hire an expert company in waste management to help us smooth the whole process. At site, to be practical, at site we designated 25 collecting points with video surveillances to avoid any misbehavior and assure the team could react rapidly when waste was not being put in the right collection area. And we also decided to introduce fines policy for illegal waste dumping. So that video surveillance was really one of the key elements of success. Next slide, and yes, 1 minute left. Next slide is engage our suppliers. So as Niels said also earlier today, we were very much in the gamification of the whole process. So for the first time, we organized a challenge on social media for our suppliers to share their best practices. And the three most active suppliers received each communication package. They were promoted as green partners of Polytech. So really find levers to engage our suppliers and partners. Next slide, I have to be quick, sorry. Our social engagement, you mentioned startups. We welcome over 200 startups at Polytech. We also praise gender equity. We give voice to the youngsters. To be mentioned among our top keynotes, 2 were minus 25-year-olds. And we also accompany entrepreneurs by offering them a huge visibility and presence at the show at each edition. Next slide, and I'm almost finished. So the results, as I said, the show was in 23 was 25% bigger than 2021 edition, and yet we reduced our waste by 9%. 30 tons of material have been reused. 69% of our waste have been upcycled versus 34% in 21. And as I said, what we did this year in the last edition was to be aligned with our customer engagement, and our NPS scores showed that we were right, since we increased our NPS score by 9 points among exhibitors and 24 points for our visitors. And that's it. I hope I was quick enough.
Thank you, Anne-Manuèle, and thank you, Helen. That was indeed quick enough. Thank you for that. It's also here a very valid finalist. And yeah, embedding sustainability in the DNA, as I read in the presentation, is something you really do. I see in this entry that you also really focused on that waste management. And waste management is most of the time some things where people start looking at each other. Is it the venue that is responsible? Is it the exhibitor that is responsible? And here I feel like RX is really taking the responsibility, and I think that's nice. But do you feel it's still a shared responsibility, or how do you feel that?
Well, I'll go first and then Anne-Manuèle can chip in. I think for us, yes, absolutely. Like, it's a responsibility on our part, and there are ways that we can tackle it. So we have to make sure everything that we're purchasing and bringing to show is sustainable and, could be recycled, could be, and doesn't go into like landfill. I think we also have to work with the venues or the waste contractors to make sure that there's sufficient process in place to be able to manage waste on site, and that really does depend on the type of venue. You might have to invest in additional resource to manage that waste. I think there's a really, really important role for us as a whole industry to influence exhibitors and visitors to be conscious of what they're bringing onto site and their behavior on site, because I don't think it just falls to one stakeholder to manage it. I think it is a collective responsibility.
Yeah. Indeed, on a Polytech level, what we did to engage with our customers, we create a contractors village at the show, organize a party with all the suppliers and the booth contractors of our exhibitors to educate and share best practices. And I know there was a question about what was the challenge exactly. So yes. With these suppliers, we propose a challenge. We asked them to share all their positive actions towards sustainability on social media by hashtagging going green at Polytech. And the 3 most active suppliers received this communication package. So the goal behind that was really to praise best practicing sharing and celebrate good actions, best practicing. So okay. that was it.
We have 2 minutes left. Neil asked another, sorry, yes.
And just for you to know, in the next edition of Polytech, we are going to organize a zone where we will present all the actions, among which the best actions of some of our clients. For example, the French railway exhibitor, 100% of their booth was either recycled or upcycled or reused. And we will present that at the show to demonstrate that so many things can be done.
Okay, thank you, Anne-Manuèle. There's a couple of more questions. I propose to take them aside and let Perui do the wrap-up. Perui?
Yes, thank you, Edwin. And thank you so much for the excellent moderation. And thank you so much for our speakers, Neil, Marloes, Anne-Manuèle, and Helen, for sharing your best practices and your entries. We hope that everybody managed to gain some insights as you consider how to integrate sustainability into your own respective businesses. And we hope that this also encourages you to consider submitting an award for 2025. The themes will be announced at Cologne later this year, and you look out for the details, and we look forward to your entries for 2025. And if I could also say thank you very much to our diamond sponsors, Asia World Expo, CSEP, Visit Qatar. Thank you everyone for joining us again today, and we hope to see you at our next event or UFI Connects. Have a good day.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Give me a rock and say